What's going on, people? What's going on? It's been a minute since I've done a vlog, man. Apology, I was sick. I'm still a little bit sick. No, it's not COVID. Um, but today's topic is a very interesting topic. I usually like to do my vlog outside, but man, this heat is crazy. I'm in Kigali right now. We high up in the hills, and it's still crazy. Atlanta was madness. ATL, I thought I was gonna die. You can't even walk outside unless it's early morning or when the sun is about to go down. But anyway, today's topic is what I believe is a topic that a lot of entrepreneurs need answered. It's around fundraising, it's about investment. But I want to talk about the difference between raising capital in Africa and raising capital in the US. I don't know much about Europe, even though some of our funders are from Germany. I definitely don't know anything about Asia, but there's a big difference, quite a few differences, raising capital between those two continents. And overall, we all know, I've been back now 8 years, and I can see the progress in the investment ecosystem in Africa, right? So it's not all bad news. It's just that the ecosystem is still not mature. But looking at some of the data, even though I believe some of the data are not really tapping into the real issue, but we see the trend of investment, at least in tech, going up and up and up and up. I think last document report I saw on LinkedIn was 2.1 billion this year so far. Unfortunately, it's all tech, and within tech, it's mostly fintech. When you talk about global warming and technology and recycling and all, we're still hugely behind. But that's just another conversation. But before I talk about differences, let's talk about some similarities. I spent about a month in ATL, well, in the US. I was traveling, meeting investors. I call this begging. I was doing the begging because, let's be honest. If you're an entrepreneur looking for money, especially if you're a black African entrepreneur looking for money in the West, you definitely begging. Especially if you don't have a huge network, you don't know a lot of people. But it was a learning curve, man. It was a very interesting learning curve to see the difference. I've talked to so many tech investors or VCs in Africa, and yeah. So the similarities is on both sides. The arrogance, investors have big heads. They're what we call the gatekeepers. They're keeping the money, but they're very arrogant. Not all of them, obviously, but in general, if most of them talk to you in a very interesting tone. I find that very interesting because I just never understood. It's just like I think it's a personality type that attract people into VC. It's a certain type of personality. It's an A-type personality, right? Big egos, especially male, big egos. I met a female investor with a huge ego also, man. Let me put this out there also from the US. Oh my God. I didn't pronounce her name properly. Oh, it was mayhem. Just because I didn't pronounce her name properly. And you know what she said? She said, when you get my name right, then you can send me a request on LinkedIn. Woo! It's something about money that makes people like thinking they're on top of the world, man. They're like fucking God or something. But that was just interesting, man. So I spent about 2 years trying to raise in Africa. and we didn't achieve anything, right? Not even some step forward, right? Not even a second call. Let me put it this way: not even a second call. I've had dozens. I'll say that I spoke to. I've contacted probably 50. So about 8 months ago, late last year, we did a flip. We transferred our ownership of the company to Delaware because I was like, you know what, you can't continue doing the same thing. You need a new strategy. And what I found out also while I was doing some research, most companies that raise $1 million plus, I all have structure outside Africa. So not all, but most of them, right? From on the energy side, tech side. I mean, most of the company I've talked, I would say 90% of the company I've researched that raise $1 million plus, they all have structure either in Europe or mostly in Delaware. If you see the fintech company, all the big guys raising 10, 15, Y Combinator force you to get a structure in Delaware, a C Corp in Delaware. So I looked at all that, I was like, you know what, it's time for a big change of structure strategy. That's how I call it. You have to restructure your company to make it more appealing for investors. At the end of the day, we started as the holding company was in Rwanda. Nobody was interested in investing in a Rwandan entity. Nobody. No matter how great our technology is, no matter how much traction we had, no matter how, we had a patent. I mean, all those things didn't mean nothing, right? It didn't mean nothing. Literally nothing. So we pivoted, and from January, February especially, I started hitting the block. And, cold email people, VCs. And the number one difference that I found out was, number one, there's more specialized VC in the US than in Africa. What do I mean by that? Well, specialized VC means when you talk to VCs in Africa, they tend to invest, they tell you at least, they in anything, ed tech, health tech, so on and so forth. But you find out that they don't really have expertise in everything. They have expertise in certain areas. So when you bring something very innovative, they tend to be lost and they don't understand the tech, even though they claim they invest in it. They just misunderstand it and you lose them, right? But in the US, I found a lot of specialized VC. And we in deep tech, for example. Deep tech is almost unknown in Africa, right? It's coming up now with robots, but even robots you don't see. I would say drone technology is part of deep tech also. Deep tech is a hardware, software combination that require you really to not just build the hardware side, but the embedded system to control the hardware, but also the application on top of it. It's very challenging tech, right? But in the US, I talked to a few deep tech investors, and they got the technology just like that. The second thing I would say, the difference is VCs in Africa. When you look at when a lot of the platform, a lot of websites in the US have a place where you can apply directly without having to send email or anything, right? So they built in their website where you have an application, you submit your pitch deck directly, and they tell you within 2 weeks, they'll reply to you, and most of them do. And that really triggers something that actually they're looking for deals, right? And even when they're not interested, they send you an email. I would say 80% of the time. I didn't experience that in Africa. I really didn't. I mean, again, you send pitch deck, they don't have a website. Some of them now start having Google form they're using. I've had quite a few VCs that you send them a few months later, you reached out to them, they tell you, go to the form, you say you send it, oh, we didn't see it, then they go back, oh yeah, I see it now. And then you have to chase them to give you an answer, just to let you know if they're interested or not. And 9 out of 10, they don't even tell you. If they're not interested, they just stop replying. See, there's a lack of professionalism in VCs in Africa. I would literally say that. Because they're probably dealing with so many deals. So like I said, there's at least 100 times more VCs, angel investors, in the US than there is in Africa. So obviously they're competing to find deal. And their biggest fear is to miss out on a deal, right? So they're going to reply to you. I spoke to SoftBank Opportunity Fund, very interesting fund. And again, I applied. A week later, got the second call. I had actually 3 calls with it. First time in my life, I had actually 3 calls that were interested. We went all the way in negotiation, valuation, and all, but unfortunately, Africa, and that's my next one of the challenges I'll put on in parentheses. If you plan to raise from in the U.S., a lot of those funds are just not interested in Africa, at least right now. They want Europe, America, obviously, and Asia. Those are the 3 markets they're interested in. Africa is just not one of them. And, I would say it's changing a little bit, I guess. I talked to a few that, are dipping, looking, but they're scared, so they tell you need a lead to get in if we're going to come in. There's that fear, that misunderstanding. But I'm sure things will change. With all this media attention we see with this fintech going unicorn status, that's going to change. But, those are some of the challenges that I see compared to those 2, right? And if I had to summarize, the biggest difference between the 2, African investors, American investors. American investors like risk. I'll even go as far as love risk. They're looking is a big word, but they don't mind taking a risk on a company because they know the return will be, they don't look at the failure rate. They're looking at numbers, right? If I'm investing in 50 companies and only 5 makes it, that's fine. I'm not only recovering my investment, but I get 10, 15 fold. In Europe, European investors, VCs based in Africa or VCs that have set up shop in Africa, whereas the Japanese funds and all, they're not risk averse. They just don't want to take risks. They want a sure thing in all the deals they do. And even though that's not, it's impossible to achieve, but they want to minimize value rate as much as possible. They don't look at potential. They look at, okay, what have you done? How much revenue you have? They want a sure thing. And that's what I love. It's a different mindset. It's a different mindset. And that's why the United States is so ahead of the game when it comes to technology, entrepreneurship, because they take risk every day. And when they lose something, they move on very quickly. They don't have time to dwell on ABC, and you have, it's a different conversation when you talk about valuation, for example. I've never met a VC in Africa or in Europe allowing you to integrate your patent or your technology development as an asset base. They don't look at that. They look at strictly revenue. So fundamentally, the valuation is only strictly based on revenue. In the U.S., it's different. If you have a patent that has value, if you spend X amount of money on a unique technology that has value, if you have a hardware that has value, and that value can be negotiated, but it's a different conversation. It's a different mindset, right? So those are the few things I wanted to discuss, man. And I will announce soon enough our fundraising, closing our fundraising. and that's going to be interesting. We close to closing it, so that's going to be very interesting. And again, from the U.S., but I don't want to speak about that right now. But I don't want to make it sound like, oh, you just have to go flip. First of all, flip took about 6 to 7 months to flip your company, transfer your ownership to an entity. You need to have money to do so, because you're going to have to pay taxes. Not state tax, because you don't do any business on the state level, but you're going to have to do federal tax. You have to file those. So you need to get an account. You need to get a lawyer. It's a long process. It's an expensive process. Well, expensive. It's costly, and you have to find the right, team on both sides. The right law firm on the U.S. side, on the African side, depending where you are. So it's a long process, and it doesn't just happen like this, man. You need to go and hustle and meet. And I always encourage. I made all my networking on LinkedIn. All my networking on LinkedIn. And of course, the same data, man. You hit up out of 100, you have 2 replies. Literally, that's my stats, but between 1 to 2%. So you have to tell yourself already that it doesn't matter where it is. It's just the reality, because a lot of time it's about matching, And I see a lot of software out there that tells you we have a database of 50 investors and we can, bring you on board and share, the dating side of investment, which I've never tried. I don't know if it works or not. Hey, if anybody has tried that before, please put something on the comment. Which website? I've saw the Capital, what's that called? Anyway. It was a Capital something from India. They claim they have 50 investors. And I saw quite a few, man. I recently saw, I'll put it on the comment on YouTube channel, a website that help you sell your company. Very interesting. That's going to be something to check out. And, but yeah, so I'm going to end with this, man. I mean, listen, raising capital is let me put it this way. I hate it. I hate it. I hate having conversations with people that just, they just look at you. And depending on your traction, depending who you are, when they Google you, they're seeing you on the news, they might pay a little bit of attention, but it's all about who's who, and not necessarily focusing on what you've done, what you're capable of achieving, who you are. It's more of, what can I get? And that's human nature. What am I getting out of it? And it's beyond money. It's ego. I gotta feed my ego, feed this, feed that. So whatever you do, if you want to scale on a continental level, if you want to build a big business and all those things, most likely you'll have to raise capital outside the continent to this day. And to do so, you need to clearly look seriously on restructuring your company. Where, that's up to you. You need to get advice on that. What's the benefits and all, because there's benefits and issues on both sides, whether it's Mauritius, London, US. A lot of people don't talk about it, but Hong Kong also is, I made some companies that are raising some serious capital in Hong Kong. Also from another country in Asia. Oh man, now I'm forgetting. What's that country? That's small. Singapore. Singapore is also some African companies are raising some money in Singapore. So you have all those hubs that are very tax friendly, and until Africa, and you see things are changing, but until we get to that level, until we really become very tax friendly for entrepreneurs, and provide some structure on the local level that are not strictly punitive and all those things. And you know, of course, VCs are looking for is my money safe over there, you know. And I know Rwanda is working on that, but it'll take some few years, man. So check out, do your research, but I highly, highly recommend that if your strategy is not working, you need to change strategy. Take care. Put your comment below. If you have any questions, let me know. Enjoy your day.